Hello and welcome to SBN News, the show that provides you with a weekly digest of all things SBN, our member news, and introduces you to some of the business leaders in our community. Earlier this week, we hosted our final monthly member event of the year. It was great to see so many new faces and the familiar ones too. On Tuesday, we heard from 3 business leaders who shared their growth ambitions and asks. We heard from Jane Morrison-Ross, CEO of Scotland Is, a cluster organisation championing the Scotland's digital technologies industry. We then heard from Murray Collins, CEO of Space Intelligence, which turns satellite data into actionable information, helping governments and companies worldwide to better environmental decisions. Rachel Jones also shared an ask. She's the CEO of Snapdragon, which safeguards and protects every business, large or small, against counterfeit crime. It was great to hear from those business leaders who shared their ask on Tuesday, and we also had a masterclass with Peter Proud of For It. The recording will be available via podcast if you want to hear some great insights from Peter Proud. Over to you, Scott, for a rundown of what's been in the news.
Yeah, there's been plenty going on across the membership to update you all on. As Kendra mentioned, there were some exciting events that we participated in on Tuesday, having those 3 tech leaders sharing their asks, as well as great insights from Peter. It's always good to hear from Peter. So that podcast will be out in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for that. On Tuesday, we also joined Scotland House London, who we partner with to deliver events. We had Andrew Morrison from AM Bid there. He was talking all about how to bid and win, which was quite exciting. He also followed that up with a LinkedIn live session the following day on how to bid for public sector contracts. So you can actually check that out on his LinkedIn profile. He does them every few weeks, so that's definitely worth following there. Alan Burse and the Second Wave Collective also hosted an event. I suggest checking them out as they're a very good support network for businesses and business owners who are going to continue working in the country when there's different levels of restrictions. The Cloud Cover IT team also hosted a learning lunch session. That was all about how Microsoft's Power BI can help transform your business. Very useful for everyone with disparate teams working from home. And as we heard from last week, the Africa Scotland Business Network marked their 1-year anniversary with an online speed networking event with members and some familiar SBN faces. It wasn't just member events this week, though. We also announced a couple of events coming up next week and the following. We are going to be bringing people together on St Andrew's Day, November 30th, to sort of celebrate and share some culture on that, but there'll be more on that next week. And we also announced our team up with the Institute of Hospitality for Scotland, as we're going to be delivering a 1-day digital conference on November 25th. The 1-day conference is dedicated to subjects of building resilience and appreciation of the hospitality industry. You'll be able to learn a lot more about that and sign up on the link in the description of this video. So that was for events, but it's been busy as ever in the news. Our friends at AM Bid announced their end-of-year results. It was showing a bounce back from the effects of the pandemic, as well as them reinstating their focus to help organisations secure public sector contracts. The University of the Highlands and Islands, they started their live music series on Facebook Live. It's a great way for them to support their musical graduates in a time where a lot of them have lost a lot of work due to the pandemic. So you can check all of them out on the UHI Facebook page. More exciting news came out of the Highlands and Islands as Jamie McGowan and Essence of Harris will be on Channel 5 tonight. Jamie and Susan Calman will be on the Secret Scotland show, which is on Channel 5 Fridays at 8 p.m. So that's your weekend viewing sorted. On some tech news, Blockchain Technology Partners announced a deal with the Demex Group in Washington, D.C. Their technology is going to help underpin the Demex platform, which is designed to shield customers from the financial surprises of volatile weather, which is becoming more and more frequent. And a congratulations are in order for Anna MacDonald from Play for Progress, who was listed as one of the 100 social enterprise leaders who are showing COVID who's boss. But that's all that's been happening this week. What have we got on today, Kendra?
So today we're hearing from our guests, Alan Graham of Elytraa and Danielle Kelly from STV. So if I can first bring Alan Graham.
Hi,
Hello,
Kendra.
Alan, how are you?
Good, thanks. Yeah, you guys?
Yeah, good, thanks. Alan, can I ask you to firstly introduce yourself and Elytraa to those watching?
Yeah, sure, Kendra. So thanks for having me on the call. So my name's Alan Graham, Director of Elytraa Limited, a company based in Stirling, where we are today. So we are, as a business, we are providing antimicrobial solutions to trade, to industry now. So that's across all verticals, all sectors. We provide a range of solutions, but our primary product that we're focused on just now is a really innovative antimicrobial film, which can be applied to any high traffic or any high touch point area. So any area in an office or some kind of outlet where there are lots of people and they're touching a particular surface. So it could be a door handle, it could be handrails going up a stairs, it could be something on a train, maybe, or public transport, a shopping trolley, etc., etc. So it's obviously a very busy space at the moment for all types of antiviral products and everything antimicrobial. So our product's a little bit different from what's out there just now, which is great. So it's a bit of a unique proposition. So fairly early days for the product and the technology in the market, but lots of interest, lots of traction from various verticals, which is great. Not just in Scotland, but all across the UK and Europe and elsewhere as well. So yeah, really exciting times for us at the moment, Kendra.
Amazing. So can you tell us a little bit more about the makeup of the product, what it looks like, and maybe some use case examples? You mentioned a few there, like supermarkets, transport, and I saw that you recently announced that Coca-Cola have applied it to vending machines in Japan. Can you tell us a little bit more on the use examples of the product?
Yeah, sure. That's the Coca-Cola example is a great one, actually. So the film's been installed in 30,000 Coca-Cola vending machines in Japan. So not on the whole unit, but on the areas which are touched. So in the case of vending machines, it's the keypads and it's the section at the bottom where the drink or the food would be dispensed. So that's great for us in terms of just the efficacy and provenance of the product. But the product itself, you guys might not be old enough to remember, but of a certain vintage at school, before laptops and everything, when overhead projectors were all the rage and the acetates were used. So it kind of looks a little bit like an acetate that you'd have seen, maybe at school back in the day, but it's a very thin, transparent film, which is adhesive on one side, and on the top side, obviously facing the environment, it's embedded with this antimicrobial coating. So it's a transparent film generally, although for bigger quantities, for bespoke opportunities, bespoke jobs, it can be branded maybe with like the logo of a company or a message to say this surface is protected, etc., etc. And yeah, as I said, in terms of use cases, it's anywhere where the surface is touched. The more people that touch a surface, the greater the risk of transmission from not just coronavirus, but from all germs and bacteria and viruses. Obviously, the focus is on COVID at the moment. So that's in scenarios, as I mentioned, like on public transport, say, where although if you look at some of the studies coming out that have been done now, the cleanliness of public transport actually rates very, very highly compared with some other examples from hotels and cafes and coffee shops. So there's lots of examples where the cleaning is very, very good and very, very effective. But what the film also does as well, in addition to aiding that, so it's not to replace cleaning, so it's to supplement that, but it's also something that's visible. So if you reach a surface that was cleaned and sanitized 2 minutes ago, but the person that cleaned it and sanitized it has gone, you don't really know whether that surface was cleaned 2 minutes ago or 2 hours ago or never, potentially. So although the film is transparent, you would see that it's installed on a door handle or a push panel on a door, for example, and that gives you that visible reassurance and confidence as a customer or a passenger or a student or a pupil in school, that there's this continual active solution. So regardless of when it was last wiped down, the film just works 24/7. So not all, as I say, any environment like that where there are people touching surfaces, door handles, light switches, handrails, buttons to push to open the door on the train, or buttons on lifts, etc., etc. We also have a variant, Kendra, which can work like as a screen protector on a mobile. device as well. So that will also protect the screen in the way that current screen protectors do, but also with the antimicrobial properties as well. And that's quite important actually as well, because you can sanitize your hands and your hands are clean, but if you then touch a dirty surface like your phone screen, for example, you can easily kind of retransmit the virus and germs there as well. So the product itself is really, really advanced, really nice, nice advanced technology. But the benefit and the principle of what it does is actually very simple. It's on a surface. If there's a germ, bacteria, or virus on the film, it will then be inactivated by the film and not passed on to the next person. So this is all about the transmission and the prevention of the transmission of germs and viruses.
That sounds incredible, and especially at the moment when we're in this focus and emphasis on hygiene across the globe. We're wanting to make sure that we're on top of the spread of viruses and bacteria, like you say. So if you're looking for connections into the transport, supermarket chains, hotels, anywhere that's got buttons, who is it that you need to speak to within those organisations?
Yeah, so it's one of these things, because it's quite a new product. People don't really know, or in most cases, people don't really know the product's there. So like Scott mentioned, like the A and bid guys earlier. So we're not seeing like tenders coming out for this product as yet, because it's new and it's innovative. So we're having to obviously go out and to promote the message. So typically this sits within the facilities management teams, and not them all, but in many businesses. And that's tends to be these departments that are looking after hygiene and kind of cleanliness side of the business. But it touches a lot of aspects of the business, from FM through to the marketing side. So it's about doing it, but it's also about being able to then communicate to the business's customers or passengers or students that the business is taking these steps and these additional steps to keep them and their own teams, their staff safe and as healthy as they can. So typically it's within the FM space, Kendra, but as I say, it touches really all aspects of operational and marketing and most aspects of the business potentially.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us, Alan, and sharing about that. I'd definitely have more confidence if I could see a product like that was visible in some of the spaces that I go to. So thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you again soon, I'm sure.
No problem, definitely. Thanks, Kendra. Thanks, Scott. Cheers, bye-bye.
Scott, are you going to welcome our next guest?
I am indeed. I'd like to welcome Danielle from STV. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Very good. I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, because ourselves and STV are going to be working on a couple of things coming up, which is exciting. And speaking of that, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the STV Growth Academy.
Of course. So I'll just give you a bit of background. I look after the kind of strategy area at STV, and probably about 2 years ago, late 2018, we launched our STV Growth Academy series, and we run a series of events. They're free to attend for any businesses across Scotland, and the aim really is to share tools and insights that can help businesses grow. So we're very fortunate. We've got a lot of experts across our business, whether it's in marketing or development or communications or research. So we like to be able to share some of those skills, but also welcome our partners to join us and actually just think about how can we, I guess, enhance and drive the Scottish economy for different types of businesses and enhance that skill sharing essentially. So we've done recent events with people like Sam H, who did a mental wellbeing special. So I think now more than ever, we're all thinking about how we can support each other at work, how important that is. So that was a really insightful session, really high engagement, and actually to see the support coming from people at that event for each other was actually really inspiring and heartwarming to see how we're all pulling together to support each other's mental well-being. We've also done sessions around about communications planning. So we bring in some of our PR experts to talk about, how to write a press release, how to get traction with your press release, how to get into a newsroom with your story, what newsrooms are looking for when they're doing all sorts of coverage. because we recognise that that's very important as part of your growth strategy, to let people know, what you're doing and how you're growing. And that's one of the reasons we've partnered obviously with the Scottish Business Network, because you guys are experts in sharing those asks, connecting businesses. And I think that's something that we recognise has been hugely important, that we're all able to come together, share knowledge, but actually collaborate and support each other to have growth overall across Scotland.
Yeah, it's interesting what you point about the sort of different types of expertise that are within the company, which is why you can have so many different topics, especially everything from like writing a press release, which you might expect someone at STV to help with, but also then the SEMH guys as well coming to talk about mental health sort of shows the difference. How have you found it being disparate, so everyone joining from different locations and most of us at home?
Do you know what? It's been absolutely brilliant. So I think it's really opened up the speakers we're able to bring in. So we're able to bring in more speakers than we have historically. What we used to do is we did it on a kind of roadshow basis, and we went to each city across Scotland each quarter. So Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen and Dundee. And obviously we miss sort of seeing people and chatting face to face, which I think we all do. But I've been so thrilled that we've been able to increase I guess the volume of events that we do, but also bring in people from all different places. So perhaps if you were based in Glasgow, you might not have been able to travel to Aberdeen event, and that might be a topic that you wanted to see. Whereas some of those sort of boundaries and restrictions have been removed, we're able to bring in more people, so more panelists. And Russell's actually joining us at our next event on the 26th of November, which I'm sure we'll chat about. But actually bringing different panelists in, so having speakers and panelists, has been brilliant, because it just increases that diversity of thoughts and access to people. And the thing I've been really excited about is the level of engagement. So even using, we do it on Zoom in a webinar format, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, but the volume of questions that come through, we're able to ask people, to submit their questions to panelists, and actually still get a really good level of involvement from people, and maybe even more so than you would sort of in a lovely hotel conference room, where people maybe are like, oh, I don't want to be the person that puts my hand up to the mic. Now people are a little bit more relaxed, and it feels like you sort of get to know people a bit better, because you can see them in their homes, and you get a bit of an insight into their personalities. And it does certainly seem that collaboration has only become enhanced through the kind of virtual network that we're now living in.
Yeah, I think you summed it up well when you said access. I mean, Edinburgh and Glasgow were always the key ones for events. Aberdeen has got its place as well, but like you've got Alan who just there said he's sitting in Stirling. So no, I don't think we've ever got to Stirling for an event, but now we can sort of open it up. So you mentioned the event on the 26th. What's that going to be about?
So the next one on the 26th is about developing a flexible marketing plan. So obviously at this time of year, what we would normally see is a lot of businesses start planning for the year ahead, thinking about their growth strategies, how they want to engage with customers and consumers, and where that new business and existing business growth is going to come from. But that's a little bit more unpredictable now, perhaps, to plan for next year. So we've got a session with Scott Pulse, who are a research company, the biggest research panel in Scotland. And they do a lot of kind of market research into, what trends are consumers looking for, what we're seeing coming through in terms of shopping habits, in terms of spend levels, what are people's priorities, but also kind of individual research on brand perceptions, what you need to do, what people think of your brand, all those types of things. So really powerful, I guess, analysis that can help businesses to plan for both the short and longer term, even though that longer term is harder to plan for. It's probably even more important than it's ever been. So a lot of the research we look at shows the brands that can plan longer term are more successful. So we want to be able to share some of those insights to help businesses through next year in both the short and longer term planning. And we're also going to be joined by Lynn Kennedy from Business Women Scotland. So Lynn, you'll be familiar with, has a very successful network of Scottish leaders. And just talking about what she's seen in her network, how people are changing their marketing, what they've done themselves at Business Women Scotland with their magazine in terms of outreach and changing some of those perceptions. And then Russell, as I mentioned, is going to join us for the panel, just to really get a kind of breadth of thought. What are we seeing in different sectors? What are the Scottish Business Network members finding for their marketing? And what support do people need, so that we can feed that back in and hopefully all work more closely together to achieve that, really.
Yeah, you're right about Lynn. Lynn's really good at speaking to people and finding out what a problem is and what a success is, and being able to feed it back in the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
So as you mentioned, it's on the 26th of November. You can sign up. We'll put a link in the description of this video, but we'll also share it out with the world, and you can find more details on the STV website at the Growth Academy page. So Danielle, I know we've got a lot of exciting things, and I'm sure we'll have you back on in the future when we've got some more concrete plans. But for now, I just want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. No, it's great to be here, and it's a fantastic partnership. We're really excited, and it's free for the Growth Academy, so do pop on to the website and sign up if you're interested.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well, that was some interesting guests today that we heard from. I particularly liked Danielle's background on air. I think we need one of those, Scott. That would be a great addition to our SBN news. So I'll pass over to you to give the rundown of what's coming up.
Yeah, on air is definitely better than cupboard door. Thanks again to our speakers. Don't forget, coming up next week and the following, we've got the Institute of Hospitality event on the 25th and also our St Andrew's Day celebration on the 30th. You can RSVP in the links in the description of this video. Also, to all SBN members out there, as part of our St Andrew's Day celebration, we're trying to get as many videos of you all celebrating as we can. So no matter where you are in the world, if you want to participate, you can take a video of yourself in landscape mode on your phone or your computer, just wishing everyone a happy St Andrew's Day from wherever you are in the world. So if you'd like to get involved, send the videos to myself.
Amazing. Well, thank you to our guests again today, and we'll see you all next week.
See you next week.